boys attempt suicides. Sometimes boys face bullying in school. Many are underachievers in the classroom. Many, have a lot of emotional pain. And funny enough, society sees these problems as adult problems. They feel maybe men might have suicidal thoughts or drug addictions, but we're seeing it at a younger age.
Okay, Mr. Tilak Singh, welcome to Mike on the Mic. I know we have a special interview and we're going to talk about a particular topic, but before we go into that, how are things been on your end? We're under this COVID-19 pandemic and we're all under all these restrictions. How has that been for you?
It has been difficult in that I miss interacting with the students in the classroom. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, some of the students, sometimes they have problems logging in, sometimes electricity go. Some of them in the rural areas, I have a student from Maruga, one from Togo. So they have real problems. And that has been one of the setbacks for me. But personally, it has been a terrifying experience because, we constantly hear about the number of cases every day. We hear about the deaths, so all these things kind of, make you a bit anxious.
And pivoting on that question a bit, for our audience who now probably coming in and welcome to Mike on the Mic. Let's give some context of who you are and what it is that you're representing here today.
Right. I am a lecturer at University of the West Indies in St. Augustine here in Trinidad. I am attached to the history department. I have been teaching there for more than 10 years and I have been involved in some activism. And part of my activism is promoting International Men's Day and World Day of the Boy Child. Those two important days.
All right, and diving into the topic now, World Day of the Boy Child is what we're going to discuss. But what was your participation in World Men's Day, especially locally here in Trinidad and Tobago?
I have been trying to get men to be more responsible, be more caring, to make a better contribution to their neighborhood, their society, their home. You and your viewers would know about the various incidents of gender-based violence. We have suicides, we have murders. So I've been trying to get more positive role models out there. Let men realize that we have potential and that sometimes the good men are invisible. The good that we do are invisible. So I'm trying to highlight this for International Men's Day.
And pivoting on International Men's Day, this weekend we have a celebration coming up. Is it the first ever celebrated in Trinidad and Tobago for World Boys Day?
No, it has been around since 2018. It has been low-keyed in Trinidad here. A few schools would observe it. One of the biggest supporters is the Nalis Library. Their branches would have sessions online and would also have it have displays in their libraries. But other countries, like this year, Kenya in Africa, Canada, first time they're having it. So that it's slowly spreading and slowly building a momentum.
How, given the pandemic and the restrictions that we're experiencing now, what is it going to be like this year? How has the promotion for the event been like?
This year, it has been 100% virtual, online. I know that in Kenya, they are planning a face-to-face session, but there will be, of course, social distancing and the usual mask. But most of the countries will be having webinars, online summits, online discussions, interviews. And it was so last year too, right? So this year and last year, it has been online because of the pandemic.
And pivoting off that question a bit, so what is the importance of this particular day? Why is it important for us to have mentors? Why is it important for men to mentor other men, or even the boys coming up? And how do you see it painting or even making a difference in society, having this special day and highlighting this particular day?
It's a good question, because people have been telling me, but because boys are privileged, we live in a patriarchal society. Why are you suddenly wanting to promote boys? Girls girls are the receiving end. But from my research and from my interaction, I used to teach at a secondary school, I realized that boys face many problems. Boys face addictions, boys attempt suicides, sometimes boys face bullying in school, many are underachievers in the classroom, many, have a lot of emotional pain. And funny enough, society sees these problems as adult problems. They feel maybe men might have suicidal thoughts or drug addictions, but we're seeing it at a younger age. So I felt that I needed to focus on the plant rather than the tree. We have to focus on the plant or else it's too late. So I'm trying to get the world, Trinidad and Tobago, to focus on how we could develop good men by looking at focusing on developing good boys, providing proper role models, positive role models.
So is it something that that both parents should be involved in? Is it something that only the fathers should be involved in? How do we decide to mentor the boys?
You see, the problem with that is that in Trinidad and Tobago and the rest of the Caribbean and the world, sometimes we have divorces or separations. You might know the concept parental alienation. We have custody battles, so that sometimes one parent might be doing the job and the child might not be able to go fishing or play football or cricket because maybe the mother cannot do that or she doesn't have the time. She's working 2 jobs. Sometimes the father doesn't have that time. So that I've been telling people that a nephew, a grandfather, an uncle, one of these persons could intervene and be that positive role model. But mothers have been doing, single mothers have been trying to balance the two, played mother and father. And I feel sometimes boys need that fatherly figure because, Mike, look at our secondary schools. Almost 95% are female teachers.
But yes, going back to what you were saying too, and that's our next question that comes to mind. I remember you had a list when you touched base with me. How important is the educational aspect of the mentoring and having these examples for the boys to be able to emulate? Because in society, we see a lot of attention going towards women, all fair and fine, but we can't leave the boys behind. How important is that?
I think it is very important because you see, if we neglect the boys, we are neglecting the future of the country. We cannot have half of the country, girls and women, achieving, excelling, winning scholarships, becoming CEOs, breaking the glass barriers, and that we kind of leave the boys behind because these boys will end up becoming part of the social problems. If you look at our jails, you look at those in poverty, you would realize that many of the people who are homeless, who are vagrants, these people comprise men. So I think this is what I've been trying to show, that we need to look and see that there is gender equity, gender equality. Sometimes we use those terms and it's become a cliche. It doesn't have any meaning,
And going back to that particular topic, recently we saw the Andrea Barrett and the energy and the resources that went into something like that. But should we be giving that same energy and that same, attention as we did for Andrea for other young men who have been dying on the street?
I fully agree with you. We need that, especially you would remember there was the issue where they had some boys in the safe houses, that the Children's Authority had targeted. And, there wasn't this outburst. There wasn't this public outcry. So I feel that example of the nation coming together for the Andrea Barrett issue and the way in which we neglect when a boy is murdered or a man, it shows, how biased the society is and how we have become.
One of your points, I remember seeing one of your points is equity. Now, we're saying boys in this instance, and we're saying girls in this instance. Do we need that particular divide, and should we just be putting the attention on children in general?
You are correct. We need to uplift, we need to promote children, we need to protect children, we need to nurture children. And I will tell you something, you might have heard, and your listeners and viewers might have heard the term toxic masculinity. And as soon as we hear that term, we think about boys, we think about men, behaving badly or doing something wrong. But we never think about women behaving badly or girls. So I think that when we focus we have to focus on children But what I've been trying to do is that boys need that little extra attention. I have seen it. Sometimes boys are neglected in the classroom. Sometimes boys behave bad, and the parents would say, well, I expect that. It's just a boy. He's just a boy. Boys do those things. So we also have this mentality that boys could be allowed to do certain things and girls shouldn't do certain things. And that mentality promotes, this subculture.
I know your event is on Sunday, and I hope you get the full support, even if it's online. But what will you see moving into the future for this particular event, and even World Men's Day? What would you like to see happen?
I would like to see, that those terms, equity and equality, become real. I would like to see, the eradication of gender-based violence. I would like to see that when we hear the terms domestic violence, we also remember too that boys are being abused sexually and physically. Sometimes we hear terms and we just think women, but men are also being abused. And many parts of the world, there are young boys who are involved in child labor. They are child soldiers. Parts of Africa, they work in the mines. Many boys drop out of school, a high rate of illiteracy amongst the world's boys. So I would like to see in the future that more schools, other institutions, like libraries, take part in this celebration and focus on some of the problems facing the boys and find solutions, not just talk about it and say, these are the statistics, but let's have solutions. Let the government intervene and implement programs. Let's have counselors in the schools helping our boys.
And my final question, as we look to wind down the interview, if there are parents out there, or if there are people who have young men or young individuals in their life and they want to see them mentored, or they want to see that they could become somebody, who do they need to go to, or where do they start?
I think they should start right within the family. Right within the family. If a man is maybe in a wheelchair or he's suffering from a stroke and he has a brother, let his son, use his uncle as a brother. Let him find a neighbor. Let him find a grandfather. So that you need to find a father figure. Don't expect, the boy to automatically find somebody. He might find somebody wrong. As a result of peer pressure, he might find, somebody wrong in the community and you get involved in a gang. So I think that a father or a mother, if they know that they cannot provide adequate mentoring, they need to contact, an NGO in the community. They need to contact one of the ministries in the government and find out, if there's a program. Don't just say, I give up on my son or I give up on my sons. They need to find somebody to help them before it's too late. Because too often, when there is a murder or when there is a social problem, and somebody shot by the police or by a gang, we would see mothers crying on the television or photographs in the media, saying that my boy was a good boy. He never did anything wrong. My son was a good son. He never get involved in drugs. He never get involved in bad friends, bad company. And we need to move away from that false narrative, and we need to try to establish the fact is that you should have intervened earlier in your son's life, and he might not have ended up in jail or dead or with a gunshot wound. So that we need to intervene and provide these proper role models. We need to find a role model, a proper mentor within the home or outside the home. And that is critical. And I think that if you're going to bring a child into this world, boy or girl, you need to know that it is a 24/7 responsibility. Being a father, fatherhood or motherhood is not something when the child is awake or just for 6 hours a day and you expect the teacher or somebody else to be that mentor. You have that responsibility.
And I know I said that was my final question, but while you're having a conversation, some thoughts popped into my mind. Is it the fact that boys, just as much as girls, need that nurturing space, and when they don't find it, you find them going into the gang and that gang culture because they find the nurturing happening there instead of at the home?
I believe that is the problem. And Mike, you would know, and your viewers, that long time we used to use the term macho, the macho man, the machismo. right? We had that macho culture. Now we use the term zessa. Everybody wants to get respect. They want to get rich quick. They want to get wealthy. And I think what we need to establish, we need to get into the minds. We need to make sure they're properly socialized. So boys would know that getting wealthy or wearing expensive jewelry wouldn't earn you admirers or friends. They need to move away from that zessa culture, that macho psyche. That whole mentality, that whole narrative has to change if we want to provide a proper generation of young men for the future. This country, this nation is in crisis because of this macho culture that has now morphed into the zessa culture. Everybody wants to be a zessa. They want to be cool. You know, they want friends. They want to be rich. Nothing is wrong with that. But it's the way that they want to do it.
And is there anything else as we look to end the interview now that you want to tell my audience?
I want to tell the audience that too often we are hiding social problems under the carpet. We are playing the blame game. We want to blame one group for problems. We want to blame another group. We allow the politicians to divide us. And I want citizens in Trinidad and Tobago and the rest of the world to understand that we have to start seeing each other as human beings. We have to ensure that humanity is protected. And during this pandemic, I think that humans, we all have understood how precious life is, and we have to stop creating these divisions, these barriers in our life.
I want to say thank you for reaching out, thank you for at least coming here on my Economy. I hope we get your message out there. I hope somebody out there, even if you touch one or two out there, who understand the message that you're trying to bring and how important it is for mentorship, especially for these young men out in society and the future leaders at Trinidad and Tobago. If we could impact one or two, we have made a difference. Thank you, Mr. Philopson. Thank you for reaching out, and take care from me, Mike on your mic.
Thanks very much.